Breaking news, a federal judge in New York dismisses Justin Baldoni's lawsuit against Blake Lively now.
A federal judge ruled that Baldoni's allegations of extortion and defamation were insufficiently substantiated, allowing him to pursue only limited contract-related claims.
What's going on here? What does he say? Why is he suing them?
Blake Lively has ruined Justin Baldoni's legacy because this is what he's going to be remembered for.
It was a shock. It was a shock to see Judge Louis Lyman of the U.S. District Court in Manhattan dismiss Justin's lawsuit.
They did a film with an absolute idiot of a co-star, and this human being was being so insecure and angry because this person couldn't get the scenes out. And I think I was so vulnerable and uncomfortable.
A $400 million lawsuit, A-list celebrities, and allegations that could destroy careers. But in a stunning twist, everything just collapsed, and not for the people you think. Justin Baldoni, best known for his clean-cut image and his role in directing It Ends With Us, just had the most high-profile legal counterattack of his career tossed out like yesterday's script notes. He wasn't just suing Blake Lively, he was going after her husband Ryan Reynolds, her publicist, and even the New York Times. The number? $400 million. The motive? According to him, revenge and reputational sabotage. But now, the judge has spoken. And the message is loud and clear. This lawsuit doesn't just lack merit, it may never have had a leg to stand on in the first place. Blake Lively is calling it a total victory. The Times says they've been vindicated. And Justin Baldoni? Silence. But why did he launch this nuclear-level legal strike in the first place? What triggered this Hollywood meltdown? And what secrets were nearly dragged into the public eye? That's where the real story begins. Before the lawsuits and headlines, Baldoni was riding a quiet wave of respect in Hollywood. A former TV heartthrob turned director and producer, Baldoni had carved out a reputation for making emotionally driven, soul-searching content. He was the kind of celebrity who gave TED Talks, wrote books about masculinity, and avoided the chaos of traditional Hollywood drama. So when news broke in late 2024 that Blake Lively had filed a formal complaint accusing Baldoni of inappropriate conduct during their early work conversations about It Ends With Us, people were stunned. The allegations weren't just workplace tension. They included claims of sexual harassment and retaliatory behavior. Serious stuff. And Blake wasn't making these claims quietly. She filed with the proper channels, made statements through her legal team, and suddenly, a tight-lipped controversy started gaining serious media traction. Enter the New York Times. Within days of Lively's complaint, the Times published an in-depth piece detailing the allegations and the timeline of events, pointing to a deeper issue at Wayfarer Studios, the production company Baldoni co-founded. It hinted at a toxic undercurrent in what was supposed to be a progressive, mindful, creative space. The story exploded across social media. Lively's name started trending. Feminist activists took notice. And for the first time in his career, Baldoni's reputation wasn't being built. It was being dismantled. But instead of laying low or letting the legal system do its thing, Baldoni made a move no one expected. And what he did next would send the entire case spiraling in a new direction. If Blake Lively thought her complaint would stay confined to legal filings and quiet courtrooms, Justin Baldoni made sure that wasn't going to happen. In a shocking move that blindsided Hollywood and legal analysts alike, Baldoni fired back with a pair of lawsuits so aggressive, it felt less like a defense and more like a declaration of war. In early 2025, Baldoni and his company, the Wayfarer Parties, filed a jaw-dropping $400 million countersuit, not just against Blake Lively, but also her husband Ryan Reynolds, her longtime publicist Leslie Sloan, and even the New York Times. The allegations? Extortion, defamation, conspiracy, and intentional harm to his reputation and livelihood. To many, it looked like Baldoni was trying to flip the script. Instead of the accused, he positioned himself as the victim, claiming he had been targeted by a calculated smear campaign orchestrated by powerful Hollywood insiders and amplified by the media. His legal team didn't hold back. They accused Reynolds and Sloan of spreading false claims behind closed doors, leaking damaging info to the press, and manipulating public opinion. And when it came to the Times, Baldoni's lawyers painted the outlet as a willing participant in the takedown, publishing what they called a reckless and malicious article designed to destroy Wayfarer Studios. They framed the whole thing as a David versus Goliath battle, except this time, David had a $400 million hammer. But that narrative didn't last long, because the moment this case hit the courtroom, the tone shifted. And what happened next would completely unravel Baldoni's strategy. For all the spectacle of Baldoni's $400 million legal blitz, the courtroom had the final say. And Judge Louis J. Lyman didn't just throw water on the fire, he doused Completely on June 9, 2025, Judge Lyman issued a scathing ruling that dismissed both of Baldoni's lawsuits in their entirety. Every major claim against Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, Leslie Sloan, and the New York Times was tossed out. No trial, no negotiations, just a cold, hard legal shutdown. So why was it dismissed? In plain terms, lack of evidence. The court found that Baldoni's team failed to show that any of the accused parties knowingly made false statements. And under defamation law, that's a deal breaker. You can't sue someone for ruining your reputation unless you can prove they either knew they were lying or had serious reason to doubt what they were saying. And in this case, Baldoni's filings didn't meet that standard. The judge specifically noted that Blake Lively's complaint statements were protected under legal privilege. As for Reynolds, Sloan, and the Times, the court said there was no evidence they acted with actual malice or reckless disregard for the truth. Even more damning, the judge added that the Wayfarer parties hadn't shown that any of the public figures involved had made claims outside of what was already part of the legal record. Meaning, if you're repeating a formal complaint or a news report based on one, you're protected. The amended complaint must be dismissed in its entirety, Judge Lyman wrote. And just like that, Baldoni's $400 million case vaporized. However, the judge did leave the door cracked open. Baldoni's team was granted the option to revise and refile certain lesser claims, like breach of contract. As soon as the ruling hit the headlines, Hollywood responded, loudly, Blake Lively's legal. Team wasted no time in declaring victory. In a scathing statement, attorneys Ezra Hudson and Mike Gottlieb called the dismissal a total victory and a complete vindication, not just for Lively, but for everyone Baldoni dragged into what they called a retaliatory lawsuit. Their words were razor sharp. As we've said from day one, this $400 million lawsuit was a sham, and the court saw right through it. But they didn't stop there. Lively's team made it clear. They weren't just celebrating. They were coming for damages. We look forward to the next round, they said, referencing a follow-up motion to pursue attorney's fees, treble damages, and even punitive penalties against Baldoni's side. And they weren't the only ones speaking out. Leslie Sloan, Blake's publicist and longtime Hollywood insider, had been painted by Baldoni's lawsuit as one of the central players in an alleged smear campaign. But her lawyer, Sigrid Macaulay, flipped that accusation on its head. Leslie Sloan has consistently said she never defamed Baldoni or the Wayfarer parties, Macaulay said. She was wrongfully dragged into this lawsuit because the Wayfarer parties wanted to actively harm Sloan's reputation. Today's decision makes clear she did nothing wrong. Then came the New York Times. The publication doubled down, releasing a quiet but firm reminder that they had stood by their reporting from the start. Our story was meticulously and responsibly reported, a spokesperson said. Translation, we knew this was coming and we're not backing down. And Baldoni? Silence. No press conference. No follow-up statement. No dramatic Instagram post. For a man who launched a $400 million lawsuit to protect his name, the silence was deafening. But behind the scenes, the story wasn't over. Not even close. On paper, Justin Baldoni's lawsuit was about clearing his name. But to some observers, the entire move looked more like a power play than a legal defense. From the moment the countersuit was filed, the numbers raised eyebrows. $400 million is a number you throw around when you're making a statement, not just filing a case, especially when you're going after people as publicly beloved as Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. But was there a deeper strategy? Just weeks before Baldoni's suit was thrown out, Blake Lively's legal team quietly dropped two of her claims against him: intentional infliction and negligent infliction of emotional distress. Her lawyers said it was routine, a way to streamline the case as it moves toward trial. But skeptics weren't so sure. Why drop serious allegations if you think you're going to win? Was it part of a larger legal chess match? Or was it a response to the heat from Baldoni's countersuit? Some media outlets speculated that Baldoni's legal team wanted more than vindication. They wanted to send a warning, a signal to anyone in Hollywood thinking about going public. Speak out, and you'll get dragged into a years-long multi-million-dollar court battle. But that tactic may have backfired. Not only did the judge dismiss the claims, but now Lively's team is going after Baldoni for damages. Suddenly, the aggressor is playing defense and losing ground fast. Meanwhile, Baldoni's lead attorney, Brian Friedman, had previously lashed out at Lively's attempt to get the case dismissed. He called it one of the most abhorrent examples of abusing our legal system, accusing her of trying to twist laws to fit a privileged agenda. But the court didn't agree. In fact, the ruling suggested the only abuse happening here might have been in the courtroom itself. And that leaves one looming question. What happens when the spotlight turns back to the original case? Because while Baldoni's countersuit is dead, the main event is still coming. With the $400 million countersuit tossed aside, all eyes are now on the main event, the trial. Barring a settlement or further delay, Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively are both expected to take the stand in March 2026. That's right, this isn't over. If anything, the drama is only reaching its boiling point. And while Baldoni's attempt to flip the narrative backfired, the original lawsuit, Lively's complaint, still stands. Her legal team has made it clear they're not backing down. Despite dropping a couple of emotional distress claims, they've kept the core allegations intact: harassment, retaliation, career sabotage. And this time, it won't just be legal teams trading filings. It'll be actors, directors, and publicists testifying under oath, in front of cameras, in front of the world. The pressure is enormous. Baldoni's career hangs in the balance. Lively's reputation as an advocate for women in the industry is also at stake. And Ryan Reynolds, though not a primary party in the trial, could still be called as a witness, dragging his name further into a conflict that began behind closed doors. Even the New York Times, while legally cleared for now, remains tethered to the case in the court of public opinion. Their story lit the match. And depending on what's revealed in court, it could either be seen as journalism at its finest, or a cautionary tale about how media shapes perception. Industry insiders are already speculating that the 2026 trial could rival past Hollywood courtroom sagas in scale and fallout. Think Depp versus Heard, but with bigger names, more secrecy, and even higher stakes. And here's the kicker. This time, everyone involved has something to lose, because if any new evidence surfaces, or if testimony contradicts what's already been said, reputations won't just be damaged, they'll be demolished. Conclusion: what was this really about? So, what was this really about? On the surface, it was a legal fight, a $400 million counterattack aimed at stopping a reputational firestorm. But when you peel back the headlines, the filings, and the press releases, something deeper comes into focus. This was about power, about control, about whose version of the truth gets to survive in an industry built on image and perception. Justin Baldoni wanted the world to know he wouldn't go down quietly, that he had the resources, the platform, and the conviction to challenge even the most beloved stars and a media giant like the New York Times. But in the end, the court didn't see it as a defense. They saw it as a reach. Blake Lively, on the other hand, played the long game. She let the system speak for her, and in this round, the system answered. But make no mistake, this isn't the end. The real story will unfold in 2026, when both Lively and Baldoni are forced to confront their truth in front of the world. No headlines, no legal spin, just sworn testimony, real-time reactions, and the potential for explosive revelations. Because in Hollywood, the courtroom isn't just where justice happens, it's where legacies are rewritten. And if this latest dismissal proved anything, it's that even a $400 million lawsuit can't stop what's coming next.